Chapter 29. Dance with the Dharma and tend to the flame. All I can tell you is what I experienced, for it is all I understand. And truth be told, the light of this fire appeared much different than I ever could have planned. Let's take a moment to remember our goddesses, the ones who crafted the space for this holy fire, because without the Mother's gift, none of our lives would have ever transpired. Even after the goddesses disappeared, there was little I yearned for, since it was her fire who warmed this sacred space. Each morning I would rise from my slumber and gaze upon Brother Fire that had been left behind in her place. All the empty space that I once saw as boredom, despair, and desolation had turned into something magnificent and bountiful. It was still emptiness, mind you, but it was full of endless potential, and somehow even this fire seemed to be empty within. It was all such a strange paradox that never seemed to end, and yet where did it all begin? I sat watching the orange hue silently permeate through the darkness. Gentle and soft, yet powerful and bold, I dared not to touch Brother Fire, since it was the furthest from cold. There was so much energy in this emptiness, and after enough time I refused to rest. I sang and danced before the fire, because any moment beside it was a moment in which I was blessed. Gratitude began to arise out of nowhere. Oh, how could I be judgmental of this empty place? For even if Brother Fire was empty within, this magic made me wakeful of our sacred space. But how could I explain the longing for this fire? See, it was not as simple as mere words or sounds. This flame was unrestricted, and this fire was freed from time and physical bounds. Oh, how this light is the truth, and my search for the panther was simply a lack of faith. Now I understand that God resides within the soul of all creatures, and that is why all life everywhere is created and composed through God's amazing grace. I will always bow to Brother Fire. I cherish every soul beating from the fire of our hearts, and only after gazing upon this eternal flame could I see that we were the exact same from the very start. Even as Brother Fire remained silent, he taught me in ways beyond words, because if you listen closely to this blaze, Brother Fire speaks of a higher truth that many have never heard. I became intent on obeying the invisible. It spoke of faith that could not be swayed. Oscillating on an eternal wick, this sacred light reminded me we need not be afraid. My prayers turned to visceral sounds, for I hadn't a clue what words rang out. I let go of all control when ecstatic movement ensued about. Growing bigger and bigger, this flame was proportional to my faith. For the deeper my belief and admiration extended, its size had multiplied by a measure of 28. Peering at Brother Fire, I explained how I would always protect him, and soon my vision became one-pointed. Now the fire spoke without a sound, explaining how I was among the fierce warriors who were rightly appointed. Oh, dearest Brother Fire, only now do I realize that your fire has nothing to do with damnation, but rather this flame represents the essence of purification. The deeper I stared, the more impossible it was to find a flaw. Don't you see how all life is perfect? Because all life is created from God's eternal law. My faith grew and grew until the thrashing fire began to eat the ashes away. I looked back to the panther's cage atop the mound of debris when Brother Fire began creeping up that way. The great fire reached toward the prison, as if only Brother Fire could erase the memories of the panther's past. What if the foundation of our faith burns away the faults of our suffering? Then would our beloved panther return home at last. Oh, how beautiful the truth is, for it does not hide. The truth welcomes all questions, because every answer gets us closer to exposing the lies. I choose to honor Brother Fire, and so I promise to never lose sight. The fire of the beloved panther spread all around me, and so I do everything in my power to protect this sacred light.